Now, Kenya has been the first country in Africa to sign a 5-year deal with the US. Hii deal ina affect specifically your health. Your medical data is at risk of being handed over to a foreign government in exchange of 1.6 billion in the next 25 years. In this framework, Gavetu Kishaekewa hii kichele itapea US government full access to Kenya's entire national health database. In short, ukipimwa TB, HIV, malaria, etc. Iyo data yako iko accessible to US officials. Bado kwa hii deal, kuna a very funny clause yenye imeandikwa, and it says, this agreement shall be implemented in accordance with the US federal law. This basically means your data itakuwa managed by the American law. In short, kwa hii shughuli, Kenyan courts will be completely powerless when it comes to decision making. All this is happening in this day and age when data is our day-to-day currency. According to the law, health information is confidential unless you write a written consent. If you ask a common learned mwananchi, atakwambia this deal is unconstitutional, and I'm going to take you through the laws it violates. Number 1, the Digital Health Act. Number 2, the Kenya Data Protection Act. And lastly, the Health Act confidentiality provisions. Imeviolate hizo tatu na bado ikapitishwa without your public participation. So we niambie, kama Mkenya, do you really have your data protection rights? Haya, hii data yote inapeanwa, inaenda wapi? Now, gava ya US inaenda kushare data yako with 10 pharmaceutical companies. Wanashare mbona? Ati ndio watumie data yako kudevelop drugs and vaccines. You might ask yourself, ni nini inge happen kama gava yetu ingeamua kukataa hiyo proposal? Inasemekana failure for our government to comply with this deal, gava ya US ingejikata with both their funding and services. So, have we been blackmailed to sign a deal this confidential? Mimi na wewe tunajua how data privacy is important and how data sharing also has its bad side. So, why would we jeopardize our data in exchange of what? 1.6 billion? I really don't think we're headed in the right direction. Time will tell though. Uzuri, nishakupeleka na rada. Repost this video so that it can reach as many Kenyans as possible. Y'all need to wake up.
As Africans, I believe we are underreacting. The United States has just signed a deal for the America First health policy where they get to monitor African countries for 25 years. These are the countries that have already signed on for the Memorandum of Understanding. There is no news coverage about any of these countries except for Kenya, whose citizens are pushing back, but none of the other countries are pushing back. And I'm gonna show you what's in the document because they just released a 40-page message to the American people on what this looks like. Let me show you. This is when you open the document. It is the America First Global Health Strategy. There's like a bunch, but this is the letter from Shortman Rubio. And I want you to pay attention to this part right here. You can read the whole thing if you want. I want you to pay attention to the last paragraph, okay? Right here. It says, we will continue to be world leaders and the most generous nation in the world, but we will do so in a way that directly benefits the American people and directly promotes our national interest. Why, as an African country, would you sign a document that says that you're gonna put another country's interest above your own? You can go through the whole document. They go through several points. The first point, making America safer by surveilling. This part's my favorite. The United States will continue to engage bilaterally to the maximum extent possible to strengthen global security for disease threats and increasing focus on countries where the outbreak is at a high risk. By maximum intent is crazy because that means they're willing to do anything and everything to keep Americans safe, disregarding African lives. And African countries just signed this. Yay. And then my favorite part of the whole document, it is the commercial partnerships with private and public US companies. The agreement is between two governments, but this part is for the United States handing over health data and sensitive information on Africans to private and public US companies. That's not gonna go wrong for the African people. I'm so pissed off that these African countries signed this because why?
Hey, my lovely people. I want us to talk about this thing above here. These are news in Kenya. Let me read it for you. President Ruto is about to sign a 25-year deal that gives the US government real-time access to all Kenyans' health records, your HIV status, TB treatment, your children's vaccination records, everything. They get rights to your disease specimen within 5 days of any request. Authority to share with 10 US pharmaceutical companies. And all this is happening without your consent. Guys, these are updates happening in Kenya. And there's something I want to tell you about the US. When you hear the US, there are two governments in the US. There's the cabal, there's the deep state in the US, and there's the, quote unquote, the democratically elected government that people, like what we call the Trump government. Let me tell you guys, there's American arms of government that are purely under the cabal, under the elite. For example, the CIA, entirely, like they operate as a government of their own. So what you see above here, this is the implementation of the New World Order. It is slow, it is meticulous, it is clear on what they are doing. But what I know it is that they are violating the Kenyan constitution. How does a government sign such a deal here that is outrightly against your basic human rights as a Kenyan? That's what they're doing with our biometrics. That's what they're doing. They're giving, when they're scanning your eyes, when they're taking your fingerprints, they're putting a database, they're transferring that document to third parties who are not Kenyan authorities. You know what is happening, guys? It is a meticulous, slow, but sure implementation of the New World Order. And it starts from you losing your freedom. As I told you, guys, it's an enslavement. You know what happens when someone takes all your biometrics? They've scanned your eyes, they've taken everything about, they have your DNA. That's slavery, my friends. This is slavery. And Ruto is selling this country. Ruto is auctioning, not the country, is auctioning every single Kenyan.